Hello and welcome to the Mathematics at Oxford Departmental Online Open Day. My name's James Munro. I'm the Admissions and Outreach Coordinator for Maths at Oxford, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this online open day on YouTube. Wherever you're watching, it's fantastic to have you with us. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Oxford, and I'm going to try and answer some of your questions. We've got a Q&A panel coming up later. I just want to quickly mention how you can get involved today. Already we've got people joining us on the YouTube live stream. Hello everyone who's watching along. This is going to be an overview of Maths at Oxford and the admissions process. A lot of my job involves the admissions process. I'm going to talk a fair amount about that. You can get involved already over at slido.com/mathsopenday, or if you go to slido.com and put in the event code mathsopenday with an S, because we're a university in the UK, we use British English. If you use that event code and you find us, then you can get involved. So there are already questions coming in about how interviews work, which I'm going to try and mention, and international qualifications, which I'm going to get to. I think that might be my last slide, so bear with me, please, for entrance requirements for French qualifications. So we will get there as well. And of course, the frequently asked question about 4 A levels is already in Slido. So if I seem distracted, it's because I'm trying to let you interrupt me as well. We're running a live chat. I haven't got it on screen because I need to put loads and loads of maths on screen, but you can get involved as well. So we've got questions coming in, which is great. Some of them I'm going to save for the Q&A when tutors and students join at 11 o'clock. But before then, so requirements for IB, it's going to be a slide. I promise it's going to be a slide. This is going to be an overview then, where I tell you things that I think you might want to know about maths at Oxford. And it's already looking like we're going to need to answer some questions along the way. Right, okay. Did I introduce myself? I think I did. I'm the Admissions and Outreach Coordinator, which means I do admissions. The rest of the year I do open days and I go around telling everyone how great maths is. You probably already know maths is really great. Maths is amazing. We're looking for people at Oxford who are looking forward to doing 3 or 4 years of maths at university and who are looking to make the most of the opportunities there. I'm going to show you some slides which show we have a huge amount of mathematics coming up in the maths degree, a huge amount of options as well. So we're looking for people who will make the most of that. Rest of my job, I do a little bit of teaching. I teach big lectures for Introduction to University Mathematics. So I think I'm down to do the very first lecture for incoming first year students, which is brilliant because I saw them through pre-application and then helped with the admissions process. Now I can actually teach them some mathematics, and I'm a tutor at New College, which is one of the colleges that you can study maths at. Over at New College, I do small group teaching with pairs of students. I see them for applied maths topics during the first year. In chat, is maths, further maths, physics a strong combo? Immediately followed by somebody else saying, do I need physics? Which is kind of like the diametrically opposed views about physics, right? Wait, I'm doing physics, is that good? I'm not doing physics, is that bad? You could do physics A level if you like. It's not a requirement. We don't have selection criteria for physics A level. If you're doing it, I hope it goes well. There's a lot of maths in physics, but if you're not doing physics, then presumably you're doing some other sort of A-level. I'm talking to the A-level students in particular there. Right, let's get that out of the way. We've also got Best College. I've mentioned my college, right, which is New College. There are 29 that do mathematics, and all of them are the best college because all of them have access to exactly the same maths. I'm not really going to mention much about specific colleges at all. We'll get there for admissions, but all of them, key things you need to know, all of them have access to all of the same mathematics. They all get the same degree certificates at the end, and they all have the same exams and options along the way. Colleges are lovely. They give you a sort of social dimension to living in Oxford, and they organise the small group teaching. So when I say I'm a tutor at New College, that's the place where I sit while I'm doing my small group teaching. But all of them have the same mathematics, which is the thing I really care about. Right, okay, people have definitely found the Slido, so that's good news. And they are interrupting me if they want clarifications. But let's put some content on the screen. Right, Courses. Here is what we've got for maths at Oxford. We have several. Can I point this way? Yes, I point this way, don't I? We have several. And we have this kind of headline course, maths and statistics. Fun fact, we used to have these as separate things listed on UCAS, the application platform for UK universities is called UCAS. We used to have these as separate listings, but because the first year of those courses has always been the same, lots of people want to swap after the first year. So we've formalised that by saying, look, all of you, in the first year, you're on mathematics / maths and statistics. And then after the first year, during the fourth term, which is the start of second year, students work out whether they would like to continue being math students or maths and stats students. I will say one sentence about the difference, which is that if you do maths and stats, some of the probability and statistics content becomes mandatory, but you unlock more statistics options later on in the degree course. So you can do more machine learning and things like that later on. Okay. We also have a joint honours course on maths and philosophy, which takes half of the mathematics degree and combines it with philosophy. Philosophy at Oxford is really interesting. It's only done through these joint honours courses. You can't just study philosophy at Oxford. Do it with something else. And we do maths and philosophy. Those students are often really interested in logic and truth and what it means to prove something. And they get to study, of course, the intersection of maths and philosophy, that kind of fundamental rigorous logic. But they also get to study other bits of mathematics and other sorts of philosophy alongside. Lots of mathematical philosophy, of course, the intersection of their interests, but some stuff on either side as well. They do broadly the pure mathematics half of the maths course in first year, and they have some flexibility within that afterwards. And then maths and computer science is a very popular course. It combines, this is a slight personal opinion I suppose, but I'm going to do it anyway. It combines the best of the maths degree and the best of the computer science degree into one joint honours degree, which is 50-50 maths and computer science in the first year, and then lets you do further options afterwards from maths or computer science. As we have this like ampersand but you're not restricted to the intersection, if that makes sense. You don't have to do purely things that could fit in either degree. There's a menu of choices. And those are our joint honours courses. Already in chat, I'm afraid maths and economics is not one that we offer. If you've clicked on this because you're looking for graduate courses, I'm afraid I'm not going to talk about graduate courses at all today. I've got undergraduate courses on the screen, and I'm going to go through those. One that I will mention though is there is a fourth year master's course on maths and physics that we offer. So people who have done 3 years of maths or 3 years of physics can study this fourth year maths and physics course. I mean, you can't apply for it on UCAS. You can't apply for it until you get into third year, and then it's conditional on exam results, but that exists as well. If you answer knowledge. Okay. Yeah, so there's a question about research as well. Just catching up with chat. Somebody's asked about the intersection of maths and philosophy. I think the best thing for me to do is to point you to the sample video on the Open Days website on the departmental page, link in the YouTube description below. We recorded back in the pandemic this video called Infinity Machines, which thinks about some of the slightly paradoxical nature of infinity, which comes up in mathematics, but is really philosophical concern. So if you want to explore that side of things, we have a sample taster session with James Studd on infinity machines linked on there. And questions about TMUA, of course, we will get to TMUA. Glad you've heard of the TMUA is my status at the moment. If you haven't worked it out already, chat for me is over here. Good, okay. Yeah, so the maths and physics fourth year that I've mentioned is maths or physics, followed by maths and physics. Or, what's the other one? Or physics and philosophy, which are the courses that we offer. I think they can switch to the maths and physics. Ooh, I should know that. Okay, right. I should say as well that there are 3 and 4 year versions of these courses. Some students graduate after 3 years, they want to go out into the world and use their degree and start a career. They leave with, for historical reasons, it's a Bachelor of Arts. a BA degree. That's just what Oxford does for almost all undergraduate 3-year degrees. It doesn't mean that the course is full of art, and because we've been doing this for a very long time, we think that employers have worked out that it doesn't mean that you have an art kind of background. BA mathematics is still maths. Good. So that's conditional on exam results. There's this 3-year, 4-year version. And you don't need to know when you're applying. To try and make it easy for you, we've got 3 entry points here. These course codes are the UCAS course codes: G100, GV15, GG14. There's about 9 exit points, which is plenty of exit points, but only 3 entry points to try and keep it simple. Very specific question for recommended reading for the Maths and Philosophy course. Loads of people in chat interested in Maths and Philosophy, which is great to see. It's not a huge course, so I'm always excited when I meet a group of applicants who are keen on it. And maybe you're the next year's cohort. Here we go. What do I want to say? There's a reading list in the departmental prospectus. So let's do a quick PSA, quick announcement for everyone, which is that there are 2 sorts of prospectus hanging around on the internet for Oxford. There is the Central University prospectus, which you might have come across. It is dark blue at the top, Oxford branding. Everything's very slick, very polished. It has a page for every course that the university offers. It has graduate degrees on there as well. It doesn't have very much mathematics on it. And there'll be a link on there to get to the departmental page, which is white with Penrose tiling down the sides, and has loads and loads of mathematics. And there's a specific departmental prospectus which has loads of information about the course. Lots of my slides are just in the departmental prospectus as well. There's sort of the not endless but very large scroll. Is it bad if a personal statement's not on it? Right, so concerns about maths and stats, which I just want to address, that we don't expect you even to know. So I've said we don't expect you to know whether you're doing 3 years or 4 years. That's fine. We're not going to judge you based on whether you want to start a career after 3 years or 4 years afterwards, or indeed go into further research. Also not going to judge you on how you feel about statistics. We have found, especially in recent years, that people really discover during university how they properly feel about statistics when starting again without assuming people have seen any stats before. Yeah, maths challenges. Okay. Keen on further maths as well. Right, okay, good to see what's coming through chat. I will say you can give people thumbs ups for other questions. So I noticed the question about interviews has got lots of thumbs ups. That is probably good, because then at some point I can go back and look at things with the most thumbs ups, which I might do at some point. Okay, right. I'm still on my first slide. Let's keep it moving. So very quickly, thank you for clicking on the link. Thank you for coming to the open day. I am going to very quickly explain why you might consider applying to Oxford in particular. There are lots of universities, and when you apply on UCAS, you can choose up to 5. But here are some reasons that you might pick Oxford. We have a college system. I've mentioned it in passing already, that everyone who's a student is a member not just of the maths department, but also of a college. That means that there's a sort of small group of maths students in particular who are at that college, and they have a small group teaching together in first and second year at least. And there's often a sort of canteen and a common room and social activities organised through the colleges. Oxford is not a very large university, but even within that, we have these smaller groups of colleges. It sort of means that you have a chance to maybe make friends with people who are doing other subjects. You don't have to. You can just talk to mathematicians. But if you want to meet other people, then the college has people doing other subjects as well. There isn't really a maths college where you could be surrounded by only mathematicians if you're looking for that. There'll be people at university doing other subjects, and maybe that is good for you. Okay, but there's also the maths department. Photos here of our lovely maths department. Here's the sort of entrance up, looking through to over here is the Radcliffe Observatory. We have this kind of historical location, but we have a nice modern building. It's about 11 or 12 years now. We've been in the Andrew Wiles building in Oxford. With staircases around upstairs inspired by that one MC Escher picture, a lovely glass skylight that lets light down to the floor where the lecture rooms are. Penrose tiling outside. There's an aperiodic tiling invented by Roger Penrose, who is a professor here. I sort of want to mention that we have this lovely building, and I'm showing you partly the exterior, interior lecture rooms. We have enough space here for all of our students doing all of their maths lectures. So we have everyone together here. But upstairs, this huge sort of office block part of it that I'm calling from now is enough space for all the people like me who are running admissions and things, but also all of the faculty and researchers. That this is home of maths in Oxford. For all the people doing the lectures and the research and the students all together. It means that we have these smaller lecture rooms, smaller classrooms as well, which get used partly for tiny seminars on specialist topics. There isn't much of a divide between the undergraduate teaching spaces, the graduate teaching spaces. It's all together. That means somebody earlier was really interested in research opportunities, and there is something to be said for being able to just go along to things that you're interested in. Now, maths is cumulative, so often the more advanced stuff, you need to have seen the prerequisite information to understand even what people are talking about. But often there are really interesting things going on in the building because it's got this thriving research community as well, all in the Andrew Wells building. Modern facilities, I really like that. Lectures with everyone doing maths across all of the colleges. That's why I have this brilliant, glamorous picture and good news. That means it doesn't matter which college you're at. Should we do colleges? So colleges on screen. This is maybe the point to do colleges. I'll try and do everything you should know about colleges, which is you get one choice. You can pick one as your preference. Let's write that. You can have one preference. You can have that preference based on anything you like. You might see a nice picture of the college and think that one. You might hear that they currently have a cat and you think, I like cats. You might base it on anything you like. Proximity to the maths department is definitely something that students have used in the past. But we will treat that as your first preference. And if you're interviewed, then you'll be interviewed almost always by a second college that we pick at random. That means that if you've applied to a college that happens to have lots of strong applicants, then, well, maybe that college takes other strong applicants, but you might get a place at that second college that's interviewed you. Maybe their applicants were rubbish, and they can make you an offer instead. We do a fair bit of comparing applicants at different colleges. We put everyone into a shared database, and in fact, a big part of my job is to try and make sure that we're taking the best students overall, even if that means that some people don't get their first preference of college. We would rather take you at some college, even if it's not the one that you expressed a preference for, if we think that you deserve a place at Oxford. That means that when we get to offers and we make those offers, my recommendation is that you seriously consider accepting an offer for Oxford, whatever college accommodation you're looking at for that duration. I think it's about 25% of our first year maths students are not at the college that they expressed a preference for, or are people who expressed zero preference. You can have zero preference if you like. That's the alternative. That's called making an open application. If you do that, then what happens is we will, using a computer algorithm, randomly assign you a preference. We will pick a college at random. We won't think about your preferences at all. You've expressed no preference, and we will treat you exactly as if you had expressed that preference of college. So it's not an advantage, it's not a disadvantage. It doesn't do a different process. You don't get considered by a committee of colleges. You just get given a college. If you like, you can simulate this at home. If you don't care, roll dice or something to select a college at random, and then you could express that as your preference. There's this thing about coin flips, right? That while you flip a coin, if the coin is in the air, you realise what you really wanted. You can simulate that at home, I think. Right. Yes. Okay. Do I think university in general is worth it? Strong yes. I think university is brilliant. Personal experience, found university absolutely fantastic for learning loads of information that I wanted to learn, and also learning a lot about real life. I think it's a important part of lots of people's education and personal development and growth. I'm really glad that we have it as a thing that's an option for people to study something they really care about after school, after A levels or equivalent, before joining the workforce. Whether or not they go on and use this, and our graduates go on to do a variety of different things, whether or not they're using their mathematics, I still think that the 3 or 4 years in Oxford is a really good experience for a majority of our students. Yeah, okay, so there's the question: is it better to apply for an open application or particular college? Does it affect your chances? No, because we will make up a preference for you. It's really systematic, actually. It's really like, it's not, I don't want to say double blind, but I cannot imagine a mechanism by which it would affect your chances, because the tutors don't even know. When they get the application, when the tutors at that college get the application, it looks exactly like you just had a preference, and you really could have a preference. And we also don't care. we don't ask whether you had a preference or not. Okay, right, we're getting very college focused. How many applicants were there last year? About 10 per place. It is a lot of applicants. And are some colleges more difficult to get into than others? Some colleges have recently had more strong applicants than others. The thing that I track is whether you're more likely or not to get into Oxford overall. So yeah, if this year everyone applies to New College, let's say, then brilliant news for me and my colleagues at New College. We just pick our favourites. But then in that scenario, everyone's applied to New College. It's become, I suppose, in that scenario, quite hard to get into New College because we only take a few. But then other colleges get to pick up other people. This is my hypothetical scenario where you all apply to. Right, okay. Study with me. Right, okay. Brilliant idea. Yeah, I've got an example of an interview question. Is there a chemistry-based module? Oh, I've got a biology one. I don't have much chemistry to offer you, I'm afraid. I do think that studying chemistry gets easier once you know mathematics. I mean, we have some of the physics gets a little bit close to explaining the shape of the periodic table, which I think is kind of cool. Sorry, I've gone all in on that chemistry subject. How'd you say passion for a subject? You need to start by doing loads of it and finding out what you like. Good stuff. Right, okay. I have put challenging material on the board, I remember now, as an advert. This is supposed to be a good thing. Of course, it's quite hard. We're taking students who are really good at maths, like you. Right. And now people know about biology. We have mathematical biology, right? Trying to model population dynamics, disease modelling, loads of good mathematical biology. You can find out quite precisely. I will show you why in a second. Here's the course then. So looking at maths in particular, including maths and statistics. The title bar wasn't long enough. Sorry. Okay. Here's the first year. I've got a list of course titles. I expect that some of these might be things you've heard of, like calculus, maybe, or probability. Maybe it's funny to see introductory calculus if you've already learned some calculus, but maybe that's a sign that at Oxford we are teaching new material, a little bit of overlap with A-level or equivalent, maybe, but we're trying to teach stuff that sets up the rest of the course. So often we're starting again from zero and building things up, maybe doing things in a more mathematical, rigorous way than you've seen them at school, or maybe not. So probability and statistics I'm thinking of in particular as things that maybe people don't like presentation at A-level, but then do like presentation at university. There's also lots of pure maths in here, so maybe groups and group actions, not everybody gets to see those at all at A-level. I think a little bit in further maths depending on what sort of further maths you're doing. It's groups and group actions. And linear algebra, you've maybe seen some algebra, but we would like to teach it in quite a different way. There's already some applications in here as well. We learn about dynamics and Fourier series and differential equations, all good stuff. This is all compulsory. In first year, we think we know best, and we're trying to make sure that you have the solid foundation to unlock things later on in the course. In second year for the maths course, the list looks like this. There's a few more core courses. So differential equations, a bit more. Complex analysis is so good at using complex numbers combined with some of the analysis of functions, similar to first year's material. It's brilliant. It's just a really good combination. We want everyone to know about metric spaces, but then there's options. Students take, about 5 or 6 of the long options, usually 5, and 3 of these short options. This is a current list. We change this occasionally. We've recently added the geometry option on there, which we've always had some sort of geometry, but we now got a long option on geometry, and the short options have changed a little bit as well. There's some mathematical modelling and biology. The idea of these short courses that you just get a little bit, then maybe in third year you do a bit more. So that's second year. And then third year, the font size has gone a little bit small. I'm being a bit silly here, I suppose. I'm not really expecting you to read this or understand what these things mean. The point I'm trying to make is that people have a lot of options in third year, and at this point it is just menu of options, choose 8, including a few from selected menu of things from statistics, computer science and philosophy at the bottom there. Even if you're doing the maths course, you can do a little bit of computer science or philosophy or statistics. We're changing this list as well all the time. Please do not set your heart. I mean, loads of this has been going for a very long time. Right, okay, that's third year. So now sort of, choice of options. Ways for people to apply their maths knowledge to particular applications. So further mathematical biology is in the middle of that list. Viscous flow is the sort of thing that I did, sort of lava, magma and honey, but also tiny fluid dynamics. Anyway, never mind. Let's not go into my specialism. Loads of things that you might do with mathematics, and also more pure mathematics, understanding the fundamentals and understanding what's really going on in some of the courses that you did. Some of these courses just dig layer and layer down to understand the foundations, and then when you think you've understood the foundations, there's another layer of foundations underneath. Really good stuff. There's a history of maths option, and in third year there's the option for some project work. Oxford is mostly based on end of year exams at the end of every year. Is the main way we assess things, but the option in third year is to do an essay or a structured project. In fourth year, you really shouldn't try to read this. There's a list of even more options, and lots of these are really cutting edge modern mathematics that people might study during fourth year. Okay. There's a question about Cambridge in chat. Cambridge also have a list of options. Cambridge also have a maths degree. Cambridge do not have a maths and computer science degree, and Cambridge do not have a maths and philosophy degree. So if you're interested in those joint honours courses, then Oxford is the one for you. You might also like to look at their facilities and their lecture timetable. That's probably enough Cambridge, since I'm being recorded for the internet. Hello, Cambridge. Oh no, there's loads of questions about Cambridge. That's gone quite badly. So this is the list for maths and stats. The maths and philosophy course, those students almost always don't do the applied half of the course, which means that it's harder for them to do some of the options on this screen later on. And maths and computer science, similarly, they do the pure maths half of things. There's more details on the website. I just wanted to give you this kind of impression of this overview of starting with foundations of core mathematics, and then later on either applying it or going levels deeper for more foundations or both. So the first year, because somebody's asked it, it's important, the first year exams don't count towards the final degree classification. Second and third year count towards the degree classification for the 3-year course, and then fourth year is a standalone, you get a grade for fourth year. Does it affect the masters you can do? What kind of things to applied maths? I mean, sort of applications to the real world, and things like physics and biology and a little bit of medicine in there, or geoscience or something, as opposed to studying groups and algebra and geometry and higher dimensional surfaces. Although some of that does turn out to be useful for modern physics and string theory, and who knows, maybe it's all the same. Should we do the AI question? So let's say, with the advancement of AI, will maths and stats be less attractive to employers? The thing we've noticed so far is that maths and stats seems to be becoming more attractive to students, partly because, at the moment at least, the rise of AI and LLMs means that there are lots of people who are using that knowledge of how that stuff works to get high-paid jobs. I don't know if that's going to be the thing for 50 years, but right now, the people who understand how that technology works are definitely not out of a job. So at the moment, maths and statistics being a cutting-edge, exciting field doesn't seem to be decreasing people's interest in knowing about it. Okay, So my physics in chat. Oh, I love that. See, the thing is, I'm a sort of physics sort of side of the world sort of person. So every time I see a question about physics, I'm like, so the fourth year is a master's level qualification. Let's go. The master's level qualification at the end of that. Right, okay. Very quickly then, let's look at the structure. So all of that mathematics, how do we teach it to you? Well, we do lectures. We do 10, 50-minute lectures a week in first year, on average, roughly speaking. Monday to Friday, couple each morning is how we usually schedule it. Well, always Monday to Friday. Am I promising 2 per morning? More or less. Across the 5 days of the week. There are problem sheets set by the lecturer, and then students go and work on those to revise what they're studying from the lectures, try some problems, and then hand those in. And they get their work marked and discussed in those college tutorials. We think this maybe takes up about 40 hours a week, once you count all of the lectures and study time and talking to your friends about maths and thinking about maths and getting really stuck on all the maths problems, and then having a couple of tutorials each week. Plenty of time left over then for having a healthy work-life balance and doing other stuff as well. That's in first year. Later on, as the courses get more specialised, the tutorials are replaced by intercollegiate classes in larger groups, looking at some of those. You saw the menu of options, looking at some of those courses. So tutorials in the first 2 years with college tutors. Here's a photo of a college tutorial. This is Ian explaining something to do with dynamics and rotating frames, I think, in a tutorial. That's a YouTube video as well, so you can find this video of a real life tutorial happening of Ian talking to some students about dynamics. I think we picked this one because Ian has a prop. I don't always have a prop in my tutorials. Maybe I should. Sometimes it's really hard. Okay. One slide about financial support. I'm not going to read all of this out, but I wanted you to be aware of it. This won't apply to everyone, but about 25% of our UK undergraduate students get some sort of financial support. There's some details on the screen, but really I think if this might be applicable to you, I'd encourage you to go to that website at the bottom, which is ox.ac.uk/funding. I'll redirect you to a page with lots of information about funding. We want the best students we can get, and we don't want finance to be an issue that stops us getting those students. So lots of stuff, including Oxford bursary. This is indiscreet in a way, but Oxford has loads of money. We are trying to spend some of it on students like this. Okay, is that more hours than other unis? I'm not sure. I mean, I've put 40 because I kind of consider that to be a healthy working week, and I think talking to my students, they're really bad at estimating how much time they're actually doing work. It varies quite a lot, especially if you think about the time when they're sort of slightly doing work, slightly not doing work. Never. I can't comment on other universities, I think. The small group teaching is very helpful in the sense that we don't just do lectures, we have that extra contact as well. It means we can put more content into our lectures because we know that we can help students catch up with it. Okay, there is very limited financial support for international students. There's a search tool on that website for international scholarships. There are very few of these. Okay, what jobs can a maths degree get you? What jobs can a maths degree not get you? I mean, if you do a maths degree, you're demonstrating that you can process really complicated information. You can work with data and numbers and statistics, of course, and also that you can follow the kind of logic of a complicated argument. And you can understand what truth is. I just think that at the moment in the world, understanding truth is going to be quite important. There's going to be a lot of text around that's all very convincing, some of which is true and some of which is false. And I sort of think training in reading and deciding whether something's true or false, no matter how convincingly it's written, might be really important. But again, I don't know where we're going to be in 50 years. Okay. More Cambridge questions in chat. Gender split, because somebody's asked and I'm not ignoring it. Courses currently about 30% female, about 70% male. That's not 50-50. And I think the main things that we're doing as a department don't really line up with this open day, we're working with younger students. So we think the decision point in the UK about A-levels is an important point. So 30% is about the same as an A-level further maths classroom in the UK context. So we're working with younger students than probably most of the people watching to see if we can change perceptions and do something younger then. One day. Okay. If you choose an option in second or third year but don't like it, can you change your course options? I mean, yes, there's a point where you register for exams midway through the year, but often students are going along to the lectures of an extra course, or they're just finding out about more stuff. I have had students who switch their options along the way. Right, we've got loads of questions about applications. So I thought I'd do a mini presentation on applying to Oxford. To be honest, it's hard to get me to not do that because of how much I like talking about admissions. So I am going to do this. It is going to, I suppose, look at GCSEs as well. Let's have a look at popular questions very quickly. What makes an applicant stand out in admissions? Excellent question. Is there something we look for? And then they have a guess, right? Can I put this on screen? Let's pop this on screen. This is going to be slightly unprofessional, but just roll with it. Pop. Yeah, I'm over the top of that question. It's more than slightly unprofessional, James. It's a bit of a mess. Right, there we go. Top questions. What makes an applicant stand out in admissions? We'll try and cover this. Are they guess personal statements, or do you just look for the grades? We're going to look at both, but to be honest, it's neither personal statements nor grades that help us choose between applicants. Now, probably all of the people applying have got lovely personal statements. All of them have got great predicted grades. We could go and look at GCSE. We could go and look at GCSE grades, and there's questions about GCSEs on screen here as well. But only some of them are really relevant, right? There's like a maths GCSE, and then there's loads of other GCSEs. And we found that that's not highly correlated with performance on the course. Also, lots of applicants, including probably quite a lot of people watching, don't have any GCSEs at all. So we don't heavily rely on GCSEs. I won't agree with that statement in chat. The thing that makes you stand out, I suppose, is by doing well at the assessments that we've got. I'm going to tell you about TMUA, and I'm going to tell you about interview. And I've got sample questions for each of those on screen, plenty more out there online as well. So I'm going to try and show you how to what we're looking for at those stages. Spoiler alert, it's maths that we're looking for. We would like it if you're good at solving maths problems. I'm going to mark that as answered just so I can see more things on screen. Okay, so interviews, supercurriculars, and then personal statements in there as well. Personal statements, everyone writes a lovely personal statement, but doesn't really help us that much. Unless you've got something that you're declaring in there that we wouldn't get from a different field as well. Okay, right, this is going away so I can look at my slides again. Thank you, though. It might come back on screen. It's slightly revealing the magic, right? It's just a test anyway, never mind. Right, okay. Application process, let's get the basics out of the way. English GCSE is really not correlated with maths performance, I think. I should go and check. That's a guess, sorry, not a statistic. If you're learning in English at the moment, then it's probably a good sign. Okay, a little bit of computer science. And we record, that's a good question, Graham, thank you. We record all of the maths lectures for our students, and we've put some of those online. So if you go to the Oxford Mathematics YouTube channel, there are plenty. This is our second channel. This is Oxford Mathematics Plus. If you find the main channel, Oxford Mathematics, I think I'll be putting together some links afterwards, won't I? Yes. And somebody says, how useful is a maths degree compared to engineering? Because they've asked a few times, so am I encouraging that? Let's go. Engineering, very useful, obviously. If you do an engineering degree, you probably end up chartered as a chartered engineer, in which case you can do a particular sort of career with that, and you can be very useful by being an engineer. Maths degree, it's less vocational. You're not really signing up to be a mathematician, although lots of our students go on to do further research, master's programs, even PhDs. Instead, I see it as a sort of skills thing, that you're unlocking lots of careers that don't care what your subject of degree was, and demonstrating that you're intelligent and good at doing hard work. But also, I think more importantly, you're spending 3 or 4 years doing something that you actually want to do, and if you don't particularly want to be an engineer, then doing 4 years of engineering might be really, really hard. Okay, just an idea. You don't need all 9s at GCSE for your good news. We will look at GCSEs. Let's go. So admissions process, first off, why? We're lucky we've got lots of applicants, and we want to admit the best students that we can. We have about 10 applicants per place at the moment for that headline maths and stats degree. We have the resources to interview about 3 people per place. Now that is partly because we like to interview people multiple times. We like to use that resource on the people we think we stand a chance of making an offer to. So rather than interviewing absolutely everybody once each or something like that, we're interviewing 3 people per place in recent years, around about 3, which means we have a lot of shortlisting. In between that, we have the admissions test, the TMUA, which I'll tell you about in a second. And then 3 people per place is still way too many people. We can't admit 3 people for every bedroom. That is way too many people to fit in the lecture rooms. So we make offers. We slightly over offer by about 10%. So this says 1.1. We have this effect that almost everyone who has an offer starts the course, which maybe indicates to you that looking at people's grades doesn't help us very much, because almost all of the people we make offers to get the grades and start the course. That doesn't seem to be the hard bit for them. So we use interviews in between there as well. So it's not just on TMUA and interviews, but they are the main 2 things that I would like to tell you about. We will look at the rest of your application, we will look at your predicted grades, we will read your teacher's reference, we will look at your personal statement. But we also have TMUA and interviews. Both of those are mathematical assessments, which is why we're doing them, because it's a mathematics degree course. Right, okay. So first off, UCAS. Everyone has to do this. You write a personal statement where you'll tell us about how much you like mathematics and what sort of maths you're doing. People often feel that they have to stand out in their personal statement. It's the most common question that I get asked at open days. How do I stand out? Next person comes up. How do I stand out? Next person comes up. How do I stand out? And the great news is that you don't have to. We will judge you based on your ability to do mathematics, not your ability to write beautiful flowing sentences. So lots of people just tell us about what they're currently doing. I do encourage you to be currently doing something, by the way. That outside of the classroom, that's a whole question on the personal statement section. Outside of the classroom, you might be trying to find out more maths. 3 ways that you might do this, very quickly. Plug for Oxford Online Maths Club, which is the show that I'm running on Thursdays at the moment. Got to do a bit of self-promotion. We've got a couple more episodes of this. One's on fractals. One of them is on number theory. They're coming up on Thursdays on this YouTube channel. And they have a homepage which looks like this with lots of pink branding. Most of our stuff is dark blue, so you've got to cut through somehow, right? So lots of pink branding for the Oxford Online Maths Club over here. I've also got an image of Quanta magazine, which I like for finding out about breakthroughs. It's written in this kind of quite popular style. And if you really want to dig through, if you find courses.maths, we're doing a kind of open internet thing, right? .ix.ac.uk. There's a login, but you don't need to log in. Logging in gets you the recordings of the videos and submit things to intercollegiate classes and stuff. But if you don't log in, you can still get all the lecture notes, all the course information, and even the problem sheets for courses. So you can get, that person who was asking about mathematical biology, you can get a very accurate look at what mathematical biology looks like on the Maths at Oxford degree, because you can get the lecture notes. So that might be helpful to you if you're trying to find out what university we would like. It might also be helpful to you later on if you're at a different university and you would like to see our lecture notes. Just an idea. Okay. Now, so Compos is something that people might put as a supercurricular activity. I should say we don't have a checklist for this. We don't say, if you mention Compos, great, you get a point. Nuh-uh. If you did Compos, you've got to explain why that was good for you. Even though, I'm aware of Compos because it's in Oxford, but the idea is that you're explaining why that's preparing you for university. So it's not just telling me that you've done Compos. Loads of people do Compos. Some of them probably aren't paying that much attention to what they're doing, I reckon, maybe. Maybe you've been to a talk or something. Maybe you've watched a YouTube video, that's fine. But don't just say you've done a thing. You should also be explaining what you got out of doing it. I'm saying that partly because I want to sort of make sure that you're thinking about what you're getting out of stuff and that you're doing things that are actually useful to you rather than just things that you think should impress me. You should not do anything because you think it will impress me. You should be doing things that impress yourself. Right. What should you wear for an interview is a great question. I mean, they're all online, so anything you're comfortable in. I think our advice back in the day was comfortable in Oxford is cold, and now they're online, so you don't even have to worry about the weather in Oxford. Comfortable. I'm going to wear probably this shirt. Maybe not exactly this shirt, it's a long time till interviews. Right, okay. Clothing questions, great. Definitely my comfort zone. Here we are. So we get all applicants to do a test called TMUA. It's our first year using this. We've previously been using a test called the Maths Submissions Test. We're now using TMUA. That's a 2.5-hour test. It's divided into 2 papers. You get 75 minutes for each. It's multiple choice. You get maths questions. The content is based on the first half of A-level mathematics. It doesn't involve further maths, although we are big fans of further maths, as you'll see in a second. There's a timeline on the screen, but broadly speaking, you're ahead of the curve if you're watching this live, because you can't even register yet. And the steps are: you will register, you will book, you will take the test. So dates on screen there for TMUA. The main thing I want to say about this is that the questions are really hard. They have to be hard because people like you are doing these questions harder than A-level. You should practice some of them to get used to the style of the questions. But the questions are not impossible. Here's an example question. So this question is about a cubic equation, and it asks for the complete set of values of the constant c, such that this cubic equation has 3 distinct real solutions. And when you read this, you maybe think, the cubic formula, maybe, which I don't know. I'm vaguely aware there's a thing, you know, like the quadratic formula. Maybe there's a cubic formula as well, but I definitely can't remember it. Like cubic discriminant or something, right? Is that a thing? But I don't know about that, and you don't need to know about those things. You can do this question just using maths that you've seen in the first half of A-level maths. So probably a good idea to think about other approaches. I'm going to pause here for a second so that people can tell me there are other approaches. If you do STEP or MAT, well, you can't do MAT because it no longer exists, but if you do STEP, for fun, would that help? It will probably help you get better at solving maths problems. So transferable skill. Will we use the grade from it? No. If we take Timur in previous years, can we use the score? No. We want everyone to do the test in the same test window. Sorry, that might involve doing Timur again if you've already done it, but transferable skills, right? IGCSEs equivalent? Yes, IGCSEs are considered equivalent to GCSEs. I find it really hard to say IGCSE. Would you prefer an applicant who does STEP? No, it is an exam, right? It's not an exam we use. You could look at some STEP questions, but you don't have to do the exam. Not for me, anyway. Maybe for someone else? I don't know. If you do STEP, my assumption would be that you've done it for somebody else, which is fine. Sort of, you can do what I do. If you do it for fun and get a good grade, would that help, or will it help transferable skills? Hang on, that's the same question again. Can you take the TMUA and ESAT if you can't decide? Yeah, you should probably decide before that point, though, because doing a bonus exam that you didn't have to do is probably too much. TMUA is technically just before the UCAS deadline. You should probably have decided before then. Can you register for both? I reckon you probably can, yeah. How much practice is recommended? As much as you need. We don't have a number, right? And it would be a really bad idea for me to say a number for how much practice, because then if you did precisely that much practice, shouldn't you have done a bit more? I mean, I don't know. There is no cut-off grade for TMUA. There is no cut-off. We would like you to score as high as you can, but we'll take that into consideration alongside other factors, so alongside other things that we know from your application. So it's not solely on TMUA. We will look at other things as well. In previous years, we've used the Maths Submissions Test, where we don't have a hard cut-off pass-fail mark, and we have a region where we'll consider applications really carefully. A region where you've scored very highly, you're almost certainly going to be shortlisted for interview. A region where you've scored very lowly, you're almost certainly not going to be invited for interview. And then a grey area in between. I think we're going to do that for TMUA as well, which means I don't have a cut-off score for you. I don't have a target grade. Please score as high as you can. Okay, nobody's doing my maths question, so fair enough. You know, they just want to know, why did maths stop? We sort of think this is good news, right? Previously, you'd have to do TMUA for other universities and maths for Oxford. If I was doing the change the other way around, right? If we'd been using TMUA for many years and the announcement today was you also have to do math, I think you would be very upset. Sorry, that's me being a bit silly. Right, okay, people have done my maths question, lovely. Excuse me, I'm just going to cough. Thank you. Tamura is multiple choice, and people are doing derivatives and finding turning points, lovely stuff. What's the average Tamura of current Oxford Maths students? We don't know, because we didn't collect the data. I've asked a lot of students, and they've done reasonably well. It's not average score 9.0, don't worry. We have current students who tell me they did not score full marks on TMUA. We've got votes for all of the options now. There we go, okay. I want to talk about admission support. This video is going to stay on the YouTube channel, and this YouTube channel, after Maths Club wraps up in a couple of weeks, is also going to have some support. I've been running this thing called the MAT live stream for the Maths admissions test for 5-6 years, with revision material, flashcards, past papers, hints and live streams and stuff. This year we're redeveloping it a little bit to add in some sessions on skills that we think the mathematicians need. So as well as having sessions on particular topics to help you revise and get ready for harder questions. Also, skills that blur topics together, these kind of larger skills. That's going to use this branding. We've realised that we can call it the Maths Admissions Test live stream because it's still got maths, it's still about admissions, and it's still about a test. That's going to start June the 11th, 2026, and we're using the same URL that we've been using before. So if you go to MATLIVE at the end of the URL, that's where we're hosting this Maths Admissions Test live stream, which will primarily focus on TMUA, despite the name. Right, good. Okay. After that, we shortlist and we do interviews. I have a question. We're getting close to the Q&A session, so I think we're going to go very quickly through this. Interviews are in early December. For Oxford, they are all online at every college. They're academic in nature. And I can ask follow-up questions to check people's understanding. Here's an example question. I'm really sorry, I'm just going to cough one more time before I get to the Q&A. Will I make it through 2 hours of live stream? Let's find out. I normally do 1 hour on a Thursday. Woof, right, there's some more talking than I normally do. It's probably a bad sign, isn't it? I should get those students on. Get them to do some talking. Interviews are often multi-part questions. Here's the first part. I would like to make the area of this triangle very large by moving the point B to some choice of position between A and C. That sort of thing. At the end of the process, we decide who we're making offers to. We don't just look at interviews, we look at everything together, and we have standard conditional offers. Thanks for waiting for the A-level grades. We're looking for A-star in maths, A-star in further maths, if it's available to you, and A in any third subject. And for IB, we're looking for 39 with 766, including 7 in higher level maths. And for advanced hires, it's AAB or AA, depending on how many advanced hires are available to you. We know that varies a lot from school to school. And we accept so many other qualifications. Somebody asked about French qualifications, and I sort of maybe joked that you have to wait for it. You're going to have to go and look at the website, I'm afraid, because I'm running out of time. But we have other standard conditional offers on lots of other qualifications that we think are equivalent to A-levels. This is Maths and Joint Honours grades. Other courses also might have other conditional offers. Please do check if you're applying for other courses. And some FAQs on A-levels. If you're doing 4, we will probably make an offer, if we make an offer, probably based on 3. We might specify which 3, so we might decide which is your third, but we might not. Might be if you're predicted the A in a particular third subject. If you're predicted A or A-star in either of them, then it doesn't really matter in our experience whether we specify or not. If your offer doesn't specify and just says you have to get A-star in maths, A-star in further maths, and A in either of the other 2, then it doesn't matter what you get in the other one. It's kind of a legally binding thing where if it says A in X or Y, then AF counts as A in either X or Y. I don't know, it's a question about, oh, Zoom's ready. Question about logic, really. If you're taking A-level maths in year 12, we have a policy that an A-star in year 12 will usually be counted towards your standard offer. If you're doing further maths in a single year in year 13. If you're not doing A-level maths, if you're not doing A-level further maths, because it wasn't available, we can recommend some extra maths. I'm going to recommend content from further maths, like complex numbers, which I think you'll like. If it was available, please find out if you can still do it. Please find out if you can still do AS level further maths. Please find out if you can learn a tiny bit of AS level further maths. If you're in a school or sixth form where they are teaching further maths to other people and you would like to do maths at Oxford, then I really encourage you to try and find out whether you can make the most of the opportunities available to you now, so that people at Oxford know that you'll make the most of the opportunities available to you when you get to Oxford. That might involve some amount of self-study, it might involve some amount of catching up, it might even involve some amount of looking at online resources to go through further maths topics. That if you're at a school or sixth form that can support you to learn further mathematics, then I really encourage you to talk to them about trying to be one of the people who is learning about further mathematics. I just think it's a really good course. Right, and you do not need, people have asked so much about physics, but after all of that, you do not need A-level physics or philosophy or computer science if you're applying for any of these maths degrees. There's no admissions advantage to doing either of them either, but you might be doing them because you might enjoy them. That's allowed. I'm just telling the people who are doing maths, further maths, history, that's fine with us. Right, well, what's the answer? There's two ranges. You have to draw the graph and then think about the locations of the turning points and then select the correct kind of region where that translation moves it to the correct number of roots. I can't remember the letter, sorry. Do we ever do unconditional offers? Technically, if somebody's already made the grades, then we can't ask them to do all the grades again and don't really want to. But we, if you've got outstanding exams, then we will probably ask you to do something in them. Otherwise, we want to keep you doing stuff. Good. Okay. More support links and things. Take a screenshot now, but these are all easy to search online as well. I just wanted you to be aware of the sort of stuff that's out there. I've mentioned the two prospectuses, other outreach things, the course notes. This is our second YouTube channel. We have a first YouTube channel with some lecture videos. Tamura is going to be on the Tamura page of the maths website. And you might like the Oxford Online Maths Club, going from bottom to top, unconventionally. We're going to switch over. I've run a little bit long because I need a couple of minutes to switch over to the Q&A session with students and another tutor. So it's not just New College represented in the Q&A. You can get involved at Slido. That's going to keep running. I'm going to suggest that as well as typing your own question, you might like to look at other people's questions and give them thumbs ups because I think I'm going to go from popular in Slido where I can, with that little bit mixed in perhaps of recent. But I need to go and set that up. So this is going to say back soon for a couple of minutes while it's saying that I'm going to go and set up Zoom. Right, okay. Over to Slido, start putting in questions. I will see you in a couple of minutes in this YouTube video. Don't go anywhere. Or you can go and make a cup of tea if you like or something. Mixed messages. Don't go anywhere. Make a cup of tea. As the internal raging debate for me. We'll see you in a couple of minutes in this YouTube video for a Q&A session. Until then, I'm back in a mo. And we're back! And I am joined by a panel of students and tutors and representatives of the computer science department, he says, including Sarah as well. Hello, Sarah. Um, I think I've managed to set this up so that I can introduce people and get them to say hello one by one. So I'm going to try and introduce our panel. Do keep questions coming in on Slido at the same time there. This is also a chance for me to find out if I've done the sound settings correctly. There are many ways I could have got this wrong. We'll start with the students. Can I put Daniel on the spot? Daniel, hello. Welcome to the panel. What are you studying? Which college are you at?
My name is Daniel. I'm a first year mathematician at Keble.
Hey, Keeple College. Certainly a college. I can put Lily on the spot. Hello, Lily.
Hi, I'm Lily. I'm a second year math and philosophy student at Queen's.
Lovely. And Pulak, your turn.
Hi, I'm Polak. I'm a first year maths and philosophy student at Christchurch.
Lovely. We're joined by Melanie Rufflin as well. Hello, Melanie.
Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm a professor at the Math Institute and also a tutorial fellow at Trinity College.
Lovely. And Sarah from Computer Science.
So hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the undergraduate admissions and outreach manager at the Department of Computer Science. So I work on outreach events and I work on admissions throughout the year as well.
Lovely. Questions are pouring in Slido. I'm going to try and select things and I'm going to try and put people on the spot. The top question at the moment, with 49 thumbs up, well done Shreya for asking a very popular question, which is what are the best super curriculars to increase my chance of getting into Oxford? So they're interested in stuff that you do outside of the classroom as you're getting ready for Oxford. I think I'm going to put the students on the spot a little bit to think about what they were doing outside the classroom. Not saying that everyone watching has to do the same things, photocopying your personal statement or something, but what other stuff were you up to outside the classroom? Who's got an opinion? Who's got a thing?
Maybe I can start. But I didn't do A-level further maths when I was in high school because I'm international. I came from Canada. But I remember I learned about like this thing called logistic growth model in my calculus class, and I was really interested in it. And I was looking up a bit more online, and then I found this research paper that was talking about how it can be used in like a mathematical biology way.
Yeah.
And then I maybe read that research paper, and then maybe I talked about that in my interviews as well, and kind of connected how I extended what I learned in school and learned more about it. I think that's what they're looking for at Oxford, hopefully. But yeah.
You showed an interest in something out of the way. So it was the logistic growth.
Logistics growth model. I think it's like population growth model. I think. Yeah.
I think it was originally. My memory is that it was originally looked at for sort of population dynamics for mathematical biology context. Great. You mentioned qualifications there. I just want to say, what qualifications did you do? You mentioned you were international. We've got a lot of.
Yeah, I did advanced placement AP, and it's like American qualifications. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I don't know if we've got anyone there. In chat doing that as well. Can I put Lily on the spot?
Okay, so I did the IB, which is kind of like an A-level equivalent. And so then for the IB we have to do an extended essay, which is kind of like an EPQ, I believe. And I did that on math, I did it on modeling the shape of lemon with different methods and comparing them, which was quite fun. And it made me kind of have like a more of a sense of what applied math is about. And also there was like a previous IB math course called Further Math. It was like harder than the A-level Further Math now, and I learned it by myself, and I learned stuff about like group theory and a bit of linear algebra and such, and it made me have a better idea of what uni math might be about, and also made me more interested in math.
Absolutely, thank you. Black, do you do anything outside the classroom?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I did was some small math competitions in my city. Nothing very large scale, but I think just talking about them helped show that I was out doing math outside of school. Another thing was, I mean, one of the things I talked about in my personal statement was chess, just because I found that like the problem solving that you have to do to calculate a chess position and the problem solving you have to do to find answers to a math problem tend to be quite similar. And I think that was one experience that I could talk about that really showed that I really like math, even if it wasn't directly math related.
That's really nice. Do you do chess at Oxford now that you're here? Or?
A bit, but I don't get much time.
Fair. Okay. Let's put Melanie. What are we looking for?
I think I just want to say, do what you find fun. So to be honest, when I read the personal statements, I don't care whether someone did all of these really advanced things, but the one thing I care about is, do these people have fun doing math? So whatever you find fun, go for it. If it's problem solving, reading stuff, whatever. And that's what for me, the personal statement is most important, that you show that you really want to study math. That's what I care about most.
That's lovely. Sarah, do you want to add anything from computer science?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we're just looking for anything that interests you. We don't have a checklist of things that we want to tick off to say, oh yeah, they've done that. That's great. We just want to see, what sparks your interest, what things that you've wanted to discover a little bit more about. And, it's the same across computer science and maths. We're very happy as quite a mathematical subject for you to explore maths a little further and see how that kind of delves a little bit into computer science as well.
Okay, thank you very much, panel. I should say, we have about 200 things in the Slido chat. I'm not going to answer all of them. I'm not going to get all 5 people to give an opinion on all of the, there's 1,000 things, isn't it? More coming in all the time. There's a question about interviews. I did a very quick look at the admissions process. I showed them one past interview question for about 30 seconds. We didn't talk about it. I thought maybe we could get the panel to talk about how do interviews work, what happens in them, what are we looking for? I'm going to go to Melanie first, I think. That's right.
Yeah, so it's, of course, everything is always a bit different depending on the college. So when I interview, then my first sentence is going to be, we're jumping straight into doing mathematical problems and try to have fun doing math problems. So I do not ask about personal statements or anything like that. And I think the biggest difference between interviews and like just doing math on your own, of course, the stress level, but also really the difference of trying to talk people through the problem. And often problems you're solving problems which are designed so that we can have a chat about it. So a bit like a tutorial where you don't get all of the information and you sort of then get extra hints. And even if you have a correct solution, we might want to ask you to try a completely different way to basically see how you deal also with sort of new math.
Seems nice. Yes, I like to jump in with the maths as well. I used to try and make people, I try and do some chit chat at the
It
start.
stresses them out.
Stresses me out as well. I can't do this kind of back and forth chit chat. I'm considering going to students, although I don't know if they have permission to share specifics of what maths they were asked about, but general vibe for interviews. Maybe one student opinion on what interviews were like, or whether you were expecting.
I can go.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Like for me, this was in hindsight maybe not a very good decision. I would not recommend it for others. But I didn't actually do any specific preparation for any of my interviews. I just kind of went into them, and I mean, I got lucky that I was able to do the maths in the interviews. I think it's a good idea to do a little bit of prep beforehand, at least of talking about your ideas. But regardless, I found the interviews quite easy because you have a tutor there to help you if you're completely stuck and you don't have a direction, you're very much allowed to just say that and ask for some guidance or ask for some clarification on the question. And a lot of my interviews were sort of re-deriving some theorems from scratch, and these were theorems that I hadn't necessarily seen before. So I had 5 interviews, I think. And really from each one of my interviews, I ended up learning something new. So I actually really enjoyed the entire interview process. It was like the favorite thing I did for college admissions. It was really, really enjoyable for me.
The question is actually about math and computer science. So I think I'll try and do it really quickly, and Sarah, you can correct me. Which is for maths and computer science, you would generally have separate maths and computer science interviews with the maths people and the computer science people, possibly some sort of joint hybrid thing, although I think that might be quite unusual at the moment. I'm sorry, I'm fine, okay, right. Probably separate maths, computer science interviews, maths people, computer science people. Computer science interviews, though, also tend to be a bit mathematical. there's
Maybe
lots of
just to
questions.
say, a lot of people like tutors, we really want you to do well. So because we really enjoy an interview when it goes well. So of course we have challenging questions, but we're basically rooting for you because we want the students to do well so we can admit them.
Yes.
And I think
Go, sorry.
I was going to, and I think for us in computer science, as James was saying, often it's separate maths, separate computer science interviews. But what we're really looking for is, as Melanie said, is we're looking to see how you would fare in kind of a tutorial-like setting. So it's very much discussion. It's not about getting to the right answer. It's very much kind of seeing if you take the hints of the tutors who are interviewing you and see where you kind of take those thoughts during the interview process.
Yeah, that's really nice. Right, so I suppose the thing I'm thinking about interviews is that you're supposed to listen to the interviewers as well, right? Melanie's mentioned that we want to see you have a good time. We want to see you succeed, and the interviewer knows how to do the question. I'm not in the business of asking people open questions that I don't know the answers to, in the hope that they do my homework for me. The interviewer is probably going to try and help. It's very rare that I don't help someone at all. If anything, I would like to see what happens when the person gets stuck, because they're going to get stuck loads during the degree course. I don't know. I'm looking at Pulak, he said it was really easy, and maybe the course is also easy, I don't know. Let's do that question. So the question is a little bit down the popular one. I will come back to the top popular questions in a moment because they go together. What's the level of intensity of the course? Now they've heard, I don't know where from, they've heard students are competitive and the demands are stressful with little time for fun. And they've seen mixed reviews on tutor support. Can you provide a balanced view of what to expect? I think this is a question for students first. I'm looking at maybe Daniel and Lily, because I put Pelican on the spot just now. So
Sure. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's competitive at all. In fact, I'd say it's the opposite. I'm very collaborative. So right now it's exam season and I'm been preparing for my prelims exam. And yes, just yesterday I went to the library and I was studying with my friends and just talking to each other about group theory, which is one of the very hard math courses in first year. And we are just talking back and forth to each other, explaining concepts to each other, and nothing competitive, just being collaborative, right? Helping each other out on problems. And I'd say like in a general week, we'd be doing problem sheets maybe like 40 hours a week. So I think that's the expectation, that those 40 hours include lecture time, tutorials, and the time that you do on problems. And I'd say that's pretty accurate. And you do have like a lot of free time outside, those 40 hours. Like, just this morning I went to, Jericho with my friends, went on a short walk, and you got a lot of free time to do a lot of fun stuff. Yeah.
And thank you for giving up your time to do open day stuff as well. Lily?
And I feel like don't worry too much about the stress because at Oxford we only have the proper exams in Trinity. Although it means that you will get a bit stressed in Trinity, it also means that during the first two, Trinity is a name for the third term. And so then during the first two terms of the year, you actually really get the opportunity to focus on just trying to know things and trying to learn them well. And I think like it's kind of nice because then you're actually learning for the sake of learning rather than to pass an exam.
That's good. Melanie, for tutor support maybe, or the ways that we support students? How do you support students during the year?
Well, me, lots of chocolate. That's just me, as everyone knows. So basically, I think one thing I always tell students is it's really nice here. I'm not gonna basically examine them at the end. So I see myself more as a sort of coach who's supporting their learning. And one of the important things for me is that the students also really work together. So usually competition doesn't help, but if you can sit together, solve your problem sheets together, that's really helpful. And then, of course, like what's really special in Oxford is that you get these really small group tutorials and always with your friends from college, so that you really learn and you develop becoming a mathematician. Particularly, I teach a lot of the pure math, that you learn how to properly prove things with like help that's very immediate and not just being in a big group of people, nobody giving you feedback on your stuff.
Over at New College, I think that those students do a really good job of talking to each other and working together. And maybe at the start of first year, people are trying to sort of pretend that they know everything, and some of them get away with it for a little bit of time, but by the end of first year, I don't think anybody has managed to successfully convince their friends that they know everything. Everyone has said at least one stupid thing, right? By the end of, well, for me, very quickly. But for maths and computer science, maths and philosophy, students occasionally say it feels like they're doing, well, because they're doing sort of two halves of separate degrees, it feels like you're swapping modes perhaps between the two halves. Sometimes they feel like they're balancing different workloads there. So there is a component of that if you're doing a joint honours degree, then you're dividing your time up between multiple things. Yes. Okay. Lots of questions at the top go together. They are questions about TMUA, which is the admissions test that we're using instead of the maths admissions test. So I know that the students on the screen will have done the maths admissions test. I don't know whether you did TMUA. Could you nod if you did TMUA? Hey, Daniel did TMUA. You're going to be on the spot, Daniel. Thanks for volunteering. Lots of students would like to know, apart from doing past papers, how can you prepare for TMUA? What might you do? Do you recommend other preparation materials? Help with TMUA. I have an answer, but maybe you do as well.
I think I use like the Oxford Maths channel as well. Like I think preparing for the MAT really helps preparing for the TMUA as well, even though it sounds weird. And that whatever maths you do really helps you in a lot of different ways, right? Whether that's TMUA, MAT, or interviews, right? What I also used was, I think Cambridge has a great resource on like the step preparation. I forgot exactly what it was called because I was preparing for a couple, like 2 years ago now, but that resource is quite helpful. Yeah.
That's the STEP support program I think you're thinking of, which is a series of worksheets aimed at a different exam. And you've mentioned mathematicians test as well, where there was a series of worksheets helping people prepare for that one. And the transferable skill of it is that I think that whatever maths you can find, doesn't really matter which test it's for or if it's for a test at all, Olympiads, math challenges, EPQs, whatever, so long as you can't do the maths straight away, it's probably helpful for you. As long as it's on maths that you've technically learned and you can't do the questions. Those are the key ingredients, I think. So I think actually I can get everyone back in, because whatever you did looking forward to the maths admissions test is probably also relevant to people getting ready for TMUA. I don't know if Bilak or Lily want to say anything, sort of what their attitude was to getting ready for applying to Oxford.
I did a lot of past papers. It was it was just, I would try and do like one every 2 or 3 days. At the beginning they would take me longer because I wasn't used to the difficulty of the questions, but like by the end I was timing myself and getting a reasonable section of the questions done within the allotted time span. So I think it's really great that they have all of the past papers just up on the website, whether for the MAT and I believe for the TMUA as well. I think that's that's probably the single best resource for preparing for any exam, is just sitting and doing a bunch of past papers.
I also think it's quite important to like time yourself doing them under exam conditions. So then you're not just trying to go through all the questions and know them, but also knowing how yourself like react under pressure time conditions. And also James' math live streams were really helpful, because sometimes even when you solve the problem, James did not tell me to say this, and even when you do the problem, James might tell you an easier way to do it, which is quite helpful, and it like also reveals to you how like the question was set and like the rationale behind it and what it's trying to examine, which is really helpful for me. I think it's also just helpful in general to think about harder math questions to keep yourself like at a sharp stage. It's also especially helpful after you did the admission test and before the interview, because then you're not doing the past papers, but you still want to be like sharpening your math skills.
I don't know if the students know this, but I'm still running the Mat live stream this year, and I'm still calling it the Mat live stream. The joke is that it's still maths, it's still about admissions, and there's still a test. So we're using TMUA questions this year, but the same thing is running. I also feel like I should say that we are paying the students for their time. We are not paying the students for their opinions. They are just naturally nice to me. Thank you, students. Melanie, do you want to add anything about thinking about tests or getting ready for applying or support?
Yeah, I think generally time is an issue, and you can also sometimes you could role play that you mess up your timing on a few papers, and that you actually set yourself a shorter time, and how do you react then, because it might just happen, and if something goes wrong in the test, then you're more prepared if it went wrong when you sort of did a few practice papers that way. And one thing that you might also want to consider is like sanity checking your answers. So just take this extra 10-15 seconds of what I have done now. Does that actually make any sense? So that's also something really important for interviews, like spotting your own sign errors and things like that can be really helpful.
Yeah, that reminds me that people talking about doing past papers and doing timed past papers. I think it's quite important that if you do a timed past paper, you do not mark it until you have got all of the juice out of the orange. Until you've done the rest of the questions, I would say, because as soon as you look at the answers, the rest of the questions are dead to you. You've spoiled them. So it can be very tempting, I think, to do the timed paper and then find out how you did, get a number on it. But you should ideally have questions that you're stuck on that maybe take you weeks to do, and you should allow yourself to be stuck on a question for weeks. The key thing I think I did during sixth form, I know it's a long time ago, but carrying around questions that I was stuck on, because then occasionally you have an idea, and that's the best feeling in the world. There's some recent ones spurned by this discussion. People are asking about doing entrance exams for foreign universities. Somebody says, regardless of TMUA, MAT, STEP, what should we do? I sort of think that anything you're doing that's tricky is probably good. There's competitions and awards. We don't have like target scores for these, and we don't have selection criteria for these. But if you're doing them, then maybe that's helping you get better at problem solving, which is the real kind of key skill here. Thank you for TMUA. Let me tick off the TMUA questions. There's a question about A-levels, which I think I answered earlier, but if you're doing 4 A-levels, then an offer will almost certainly be based on 3, maths, further maths, and a third one. It might specify what the third one is, it might not. Right. Okay, where am I going to go next? Oh, I've normally got one lined up, but the next one is supercurriculars, and we did that one. And TMUA, and we did that one. We've done interviews and GCSEs. Should we do the current student? I think I love asking students about what they're up to other than maths. So like Oxford is a lovely place to study. We do lots of maths, and we think about admissions quite a lot, especially me. But there's lots of other stuff going on as well. And I did not get the students to prepare for this. So, Lily, what do you get up to when you're not doing maths?
Well, firstly, I need to do philosophy,
Sorry,
but
yes.
that's also my degree. I usually do theater stuff, so there's plenty of theater opportunities here at Oxford, like just way too many student theater productions, to be honest. And I'm running one of them. I do acting, directing, and sometimes I also watch plays my friends are in. And I am also involved in our JCR committee. So JCR is its full name is Junior Common Room, which is both an actual room in your college where like all the undergrads can gather and have fun, but also it's the name for the general undergraduate body in your college. And they have like a committee, which is kind of like student council at school. And then we just do stuff to help run events, and we get to manage a much larger budget than you do at student council, and that's probably it.
Nice. Other students jump in. If you could, what are you up to outside of your degree?
I think for me, I go to a lot of like speaker events because I find them very interesting. Like last term, this was my favorite one. I think the director of Squid Games, I don't know if you guys know, it's like a really famous show on Netflix, came in. It was really interesting to hear his perspective. And then just yesterday, I think I went, or 2 days ago, I went to like talk from Barclays CEO. That was really fun as well. So I try to hear a lot of different perspectives from a lot of different famous people at Oxford. Yeah.
We could get some good speakers in various capacities. I'm going to put Philip on the spot. Do you do outside of the degree?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a few things. One of the things I do is chess. One of the things I've been trying to get more of is improv. Both of those are societies that I attend semi-regularly. But I've also, because I'm still in my first year, I'm still kind of in the phase of figuring out what societies I really, really like and want to keep attending. So like I've set myself a goal of attending 3 new societies every term. And most of the ones I've attended so far, I've just shown up for one meeting and then not liked it and then not gone back. But it's nice that you can do that. And I've gotten to explore many things and meet many people that I wouldn't have otherwise. So.
Like that, Melanie and I think both laughed a little bit at the getting into 3 new things every term, but then getting out of 3 things during each term as well. So it's not a snowballing effect. They're not doing 9 extra things. The advice for new college students that we give them at the start of the year is that you should only have 1 major thing that's outside. Like if you're doing a lot of rowing, then you shouldn't also be doing a lot of orchestra. It's just super hard to make your degree and 2 massive things work at the same time, but there's space for other stuff as well. Right, okay. Can you attend? Okay, societies question. Building on that, can you attend any societies? And is everyone welcoming? I think improv is famously quite welcoming, right? Is it the Oxford Imps? Is that the name of the improv society, or is there maybe there's another one?
I think there's a few. I think this one is House of Improv, but I found that all the societies I've been to are quite welcoming. I mean, they also want members. The only potential friction point is that some societies have memberships because some societies have bigger expenditures than others, and so you have to pay to be a member of them, and many of those societies have events that are members only. Most of the societies that I know of have at least some events that are open to the general public, or at least if you buy a ticket. So like aside from the money thing, everyone is very welcoming, and I haven't had any issues with feeling like I'm not welcome in any societies.
I'll nominate the Mercer County Society, which Melanie is also involved with. It's a society for math that's basically for women and non-binary students, because we are sadly still the minority at the Math Institute, and it's just a good opportunity for you to meet other people around. And usually the event is just we sit together at the Math Institute in like 1 day every week in the afternoon, and they bring snacks, so it's kind of like a chill and nice event. I think most events in Oxford are of like a very friendly nature, and even if it's you're applying for those like financial societies where they try to get into like investment banking and stuff, the competition might be just to get into the society, but it's not about everybody inside it is very competitive once you get in it. So I think in general societies are quite friendly, at least from my experience too.
Good. Okay, there's a question I think for Sarah. Oh, sorry,
I was
go
gonna
Sarah.
say,
Yeah.
I think I should probably add to that as well. There is also a computer science equivalent of that society too. So there's the Oxford Women in Computer Science Society as well. They have various different events going on throughout the year. And from what I understand, it's a very, inclusive group. They're always happy to have new members joining them.
There is also the Invariance Math Society for everyone, and some of the colleges have their own little math societies as well, which I never really. A college has got so anyway. They're already friends with each other. You don't have to call it a society, do you? But maybe you do. I don't. Did Trinity have one of these?
No, we don't, but we do quite a lot of things together as a group of mathematicians. So one thing we regularly do is we call it an informal math lunch, which is just a day in the week where we all go together to have lunch in hall. So from first year undergrad to, master students, PhD students, tutors, we just all sit together and basically eat lunch. And we have things like we start the year off with a math and pizza, where we have talks of undergraduate students about literally anything, and then we have pizza together. It's a really sort of friendly environment where you can just have fun with other people who love math or who are nice people.
I think Balliol College, their undergraduate students have a student society, but I think they've done that just because they're called the Balliol Undergraduate Maths Society, which I think they've done for the hoodie. There's questions. The student society questions are really great. We might come back to student societies in a moment. The question for Sarah about computing modules, though. I didn't say very much about computer science in the first hour with slides. You've got 2 minutes to tell us all about computing modules at the University of Oxford. Go.
So I think the best things I can tell you is probably the ones that happen in first year. So the ones that are common across all 3 of the courses that we offer. So here we're talking about maths and computer science, but we do offer a computer science and computer science philosophy course as well. So the core subjects are functional programming at present, probability, imperative programming, introduction to proof systems, design and analysis of algorithms, and then depending on which subject you're actually doing, you're either doing continuous or discrete maths. There's a lot more information about each of those core subjects, all available on the website, so you can read a little bit more of a synopsis about what each of them might involve, and you know who the tutor is for that class of that particular year. As with everything is always subject to change, but that has been the core subjects for the last few years. Perhaps one of our maths and computer science students can tell me maybe one of the subjects that they enjoyed in first year.
Have we got a maths and computer science student?
Sorry, we don't have any maths and computer science students, do we? Have any of our maths and philosophy students any of those modules? No, okay.
Lily?
So yeah, so I think that's all I have to say at the minute about what's available to maths in to maths and computer science students in first year. We also maybe I should talk a little bit about the course structure as well. Do you think this is the right time for that, James, or is that coming up a little bit later?
So I'll do it in the context, I suppose, that I showed them the kind of structure of the maths degree.
Yeah.
Scroll back an hour in this video. For computer science, I understand you get lots of choice later on, and there's a sort of menu of options later on with lots of details on the computer science website. So I think an interested applicant showing initiative and use of websites could find lots of information about the course structure. Instead, can I ask you, there's somebody asking about the choice between doing, and it breaks my heart slightly, but they are choosing between maths and computer science versus computer science.
Yes.
How would you help someone choose between the maths and computer science versus just computer science?
When I get that question during open days, I think the main thing that I do is say you need to choose the subject that's right for you. So whether that's maths, whether that's computer science, whether that's a combination of the two, I think the way you can get the most out of your time is probably to ask questions of the people actually doing the courses, see what their opinions are. See what kind of things that you already enjoy doing, you know, either in school or in your super curricular, and how that kind of marries up to the course that we have here at Oxford, and whether or not that's going to be something that you enjoy for the next 3 or 4 years. You know, if it's something you really can't decide, you know, between, perhaps maths and computer science could be a good option, just because you can kind of swing more one way or the other as you go through your degree. So you start off at 50-50 in the first year, and then as you go through, you get more choice over what subjects you want to explore. So if you want to explore maths a little bit more, you have the choice of doing that. And if you want to explore computer science, you have the choice of doing more of that if you so wish.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Computer science taking part in the big July open days as well. So I'm sorry I've only given you like 2-3 minutes to do the self from the computer science department. You have a very nice video. Oh, are you still using the video that's a tour of the department?
We are, yes. So there is a video tour on our website. You can very much go away and have a look at that. It just showcases computer labs, our lecture theatres, and some of kind of our teaching spaces here at Oxford. If you come to us on our open day as well, we also have that playing on the monitor on a loop throughout the day as well. So you can always come and see it in person as well.
Lovely. Building on that, I was worried that their application might be, they say 90% maths, 10% computer science. I assume that is the sort of thing that's visible to them, but not going to be really visible to us, right? How are we going to tell where that thing is? And do we care?
I think I agree on that. I think you should be, I mean, assumingly if they're saying 10% computer science, this must be their personal statement.
Yes, sorry, that's what
where they're showcasing that. So the way we personally do computer science at Oxford, it's very mathematical anyway. So we're looking very much at the mathematical underpinnings of computer science. And what we're looking for is we are looking for strong mathematicians. So this doesn't strike me as something that would be, you know, out of the ordinary. But again, as we've kind of been stressing, you know, over the last half an hour or so, you should write about things that are interesting to you. And if you're finding the mathematical things more interesting, then that's absolutely what you should be writing about.
thinking about choices. And people are maybe trying to test my boundaries or something for the questions box, because people are asking about choices between Oxford and other universities. Well, other university singular, really. Students, there's a rule that you can't apply to Oxford and Cambridge in the same year. We both do interviews. There's a lot of work involved. So the rule is that you can't apply to both Oxford and Cambridge, which means at some point, because you're at Oxford, you made the choice to apply to Oxford rather than Cambridge. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot to maybe, if you like, say how you made that choice, but I will remind you that we're being recorded and Cambridge are potentially in chat now. Students, how did you make a choice? I'm joking aside, informed decisions, both great universities, both have loads of mathematics. Some amazing people study at either university and get loads out of either course. I am partly joking. So I suppose maths and philosophy students, it's sort of obvious, right? So Lillian feel like right because there's no maths and philosophy at Cambridge, which means I think I'm going to Daniel. Was this a thing you thought about, or is it not a thing you thought about?
Yeah, 100%. I was like stuck between Cambridge and Oxford for months before I applied. And I chose Oxford mainly because of STEP. And I think like the timeline of STEP doesn't really work well for me. Like after you get your A-level grades, then you have to take STEP and then you have to be nervous about whether you got into Cambridge or not. But Oxford, I love how they do the MAT or TMUA now. And you do that before you actually, get your final offer decision, which is what I love about Oxford. And the second biggest reason I think is we have a much nicer maths institute compared to Cambridge. I think we have like a brand new, I wouldn't say it's brand new, but it's like a pretty nice building. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe after the 10-year anniversary, maybe we have to stop saying brand new. But it's nice. And it's nice we have the lectures here as well. I mean, you should, if you're considering both, you should go to the Cambridge version of this, I suppose, which I think was in person a month ago. You should find out what was going on there as well. Melanie, do you want to say? I haven't put you on the spot for a while. Should I say anything about Oxford or Cambridge or next?
Yeah, maybe just saying nice things about us. Now, I guess we don't have Saturday lectures. That might also be something to say for people who don't like Saturday lectures. No, I think Oxford it's a really nice place here, and the maths department is a great place to be. And one thing you really see is that all of your lecturers are also college tutors. And I think that makes a big difference in also like, so for example, I'm lecturing first year analysis, but I'm teaching the same thing also in college. So my students would immediately tell me if something is not clear, and I'm aware of like the difficulty levels. I know exactly what they're doing. So that's, I think, a really good thing about Oxford. You have this really close connection between the college and the department. And I think it's just a really nice place to be and really fun math.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I think we did that really well. Also, boundaries, I think, possibly. This is for students. I'm going to get maths and philosophy students back in as well. Somebody's asking, how much AI do the students use? For example, ChatGPT. My understanding is that the university has some sort of agreement, which means that you all get, what's it called, ChatGPT Pro or something for free. I don't know how much people are using that or whether they want to use that. Anybody got thoughts about AI? I'd be amazed if you don't have any thoughts about AI.
So, I think the department sent, or like within my college, sent us like a file suggesting to us that we should not use AI in place of our thoughts to do our homework. But I would say that AI is sometimes quite helpful in the sense that there will be things I thought like I did not fully understand. I might ask the AI to help me with something, which is easier than sending my tutors 10,000 emails sometimes, and it's much quicker. But also, I think it's also important to keep in mind that the AI can be wrong. And it happens a lot with when it's very calculation heavy or with like a very theoretical subject like analysis. Like the AI thought it proved something, but then it didn't. Or the AI thought it did all the calculations, but then messed up in one step and then everything else goes wrong. And it didn't match up with your answer. And I mean, it's very helpful in the sense that I also use AI to help me to create like mind maps and stuff. Sometimes there's like a lot of concepts involving the course, and I feel like maybe I need some help to figure out what's the most important concepts, and I'll ask the AI about it. And I think also, like, it's just about using AI in a constructive way rather than using it in place of your own thoughts and thinking.
Pause for alternative.
I mean,
yeah, good.
I think another thing is because the lecturers are a lot more used to writing and reading math than we are, especially in first year. So a lot of the times in the lecture notes that we get from the lecturers, some of the proofs can be a bit terse, so that you don't immediately get the idea of what's going on behind the scenes on a first reading. And I think in those cases, it's extremely helpful to like load a screenshot of the entire proof into an LLM, and then have a 20-minute long conversation back and forth with the AI about what's actually going on in the proof, because then you can ask very specific questions and identify any points where you don't understand a particular step of the proof, and you can have that model explain it to you again and again. And that saves, I mean, that saves a lot of time for you because you don't have to email your tutor and wait for a response. But I think it also saves time for the tutor, because this is these tend to be very easy questions for the tutors, but these are just, if you look at it and you don't get it, it's very helpful to have someone to explain it to you in plain English.
I think like for me, with AI, I use it to summarize like the big ideas of like a proof. So I compare like the lecture notes, and then I throw the lecture notes into ChatGPT, and then I ask it, hey, I'm revising for my exams. I don't get this part of the proof. Can you make like a little recipe book for me? Using Melanie's advice. And then I train to make flashcards, right? And then I write my own recipes, and then I compare it to what ChatGPT gives me. And sometimes I have the big ideas, but they differ from what ChatGPT gives me. And sometimes I like ChatGPT's version better, so I would write down its recipe over mine. But then sometimes I like my recipe better, so then I compare and make like a really good recipe book, is what I would say. Yeah.
That sounds really nice. I like the analogy of recipe book as well. That's great. I think I would move on from AI. I'm sad we've lost Sarah. I knew Sarah had to run, and I think that was them running when the video froze and they're off. I'm just saying, because I've left the computer science view on AI as well, since some of those people were really involved in setting this whole thing up. We had a question earlier about maths and statistics, where I tried to explain that actually more and more people seem to want to do maths and statistics, not fewer. Okay. I'm going to go back to popular. I can't do examples of interview questions, although I'm going to point at there's a video on this channel in November, December sort of time, 2025, where I went through lots of my past interview questions. I can't ask other people to reveal interview questions or to share stuff that they've done in assessment, but I can share my own. So there's a video I do each year where I go through loads of past interview questions. If you can find it on this channel, or if you wait, in about November this year, I'm going to do another one, adding in one more interview question, the one that I used last year. So that's my interview experience. There's a question, this is going to be, I think, for Melanie, and I think we're going to maybe subvert it a little bit as we go past 256 questions, gosh. The question is, what are some common weaknesses you often see in applicants during interviews and or personal statements? So they've selected, they haven't said TMUA, but there are also obviously weaknesses in TMUA will cause your score to be lower. Weaknesses in interviews and or personal statement.
I think personal statements, I wouldn't really say, I mean, having weaknesses, don't worry about it. As long as you come across genuine, I think. I just want to see that you love math. That's all. And that is basically usually okay. I think in interviews, there's one sort of weakness is sometimes that people are some students can be quite fixed to the method that they want to use, and then not so used to actually trying to react to hints. And one thing, which is also something we see a lot in like first year, is sometimes you just cannot compute something. And students find it a lot more difficult to just estimate something than compute something explicitly. And often getting an estimate and getting sort of a feeling for how something behaves is a very important skill to have in math. So that's something we test quite often at interviews, and that's something we find students struggle quite a lot also during first year.
I don't know if I can really put the students on the spot to say weaknesses of applications. The thing I think I usually come back to is that most of our applicants are not making mistakes. They're not bad mathematicians. We have many applications, which is sort of an independent number from the number of places we have. I think it's perfectly possible that lots of these students who we don't have space for on the course, sadly, we don't get to teach them here, go on to do loads of brilliant things in lots of other brilliant universities. UK is a really good place to do maths at university. There are lots of very strong universities, lots of places where you can learn lots of the maths options that we've shown, and then maybe go on and do graduate study at your choice of university after that. So not everyone who works at Oxford did their degree at Oxford. People are coming from other places as well. So even if you don't go to Oxford now, that doesn't rule out Oxford for the rest of your career, if you do research stuff. Okay, I have typed a follow-up question. I should say I am trying to very quietly type answers to some questions. If I type loudly, then you can't hear the panel. My plan for today is after 12 o'clock, the panel, you have to enjoy the sunshine, it's a lovely day in Oxford. I am going to stay chained to my desk and I'm going to try and type answers to, I'm not going to say all of the questions, but I'm going to try and type answers for questions. I will say, if you've submitted your question multiple times, or if multiple people have submitted exactly the same question or very similar questions, then I might not type my answer for all of them. EPQs, for example, lots of questions about EPQs. Although now I've read it out, so I feel we're talking about EPQs. Lily, you mentioned doing a project or an assessment for
Extended essay.
Right, that's what it's the IB sort of version of this. And I think you said you found it useful, right? Or
Kind of. I wouldn't say it's entirely useful now look back at like the math was involved, but I think it's useful in the sense that it's like one of the first time that like such a big project contributes to your grade, and it's about like not just about the math, but about like time management and about communicating mathematical ideas clearly. Like especially like I don't know about the EPQ, but I know that the EE was not marked on like how crazy the math is about. In essence, like if you have like very hard math, but you can't explain it to like at a high school level, you would actually get a worse grade. So then it's about using the right level of math to solve a problem and also being able to explain it clearly and coherently. And I think it's quite an important skill. And it's also, I mean, I find it useful because that's also what we actually happen to do, right? Because in tutorials and even during the interviews, even if you know the math, but if you can't communicate it, it might be quite a big problem. Yeah, I think that's kind of the most important thing about doing the project. It's not about learning crazy math. But of course, if you want to learn very hard math because you're inspired by the project or something, I think that's also definitely a good thing.
stay on the call. A question's just come in for you, which I don't understand. It's got 4 acronyms in it. Good luck. For the IB, can you connect your IAs to the personal statement if you didn't do a math EE? It's an IA?
So like for every every IB subject, there's like the exam papers that's kind of like A level, and every subject has like an IA, like an internal assessment, which is an essay basically. You write like a project, small project. It's like a smaller project than the EE because the EE is usually 4,000 words and the IA is like 20-page count, like 20 pages at most, including citations. Not sure, I don't remember clearly, but so it's kind of shorter than an EE usually. And everyone doing math has to do like a math IA and everyone has to do math. So basically everyone does one. So I feel like it's a bit different, but also obviously some people just do the IA because they have to do it, and some people put way more effort into it. And I think it also depends on the topic you do, but I think it's definitely like something nice to mention and to explain about, because I do know people whose math IA, even though they didn't do a math EE, could rival a math EE. It can happen.
I suppose the rule for personal statements is partly, thank you for telling me about IAs. should have known about internal assessments, but in some sense, the grade is the grade overall. While I've got you on IBs, someone in chat wants to know what the kind of like realistic IB score is. That I've often heard this opinion that the IB offer, some students think that it's a little bit low, and that really we must have some secret selection criteria based on a higher IB score. We don't. It doesn't really matter from my point of view. I guess I've got Lily on to say, I don't know, am I going to ask you what you think of our IB offer? Probably not.
I know that everyone doing math, if you do IB and you get the offer, the condition should be 39 points overall, counting EE and TOK. And so then 39 is not like a very high score, to be very fair. But also I think it's like a good place because for A level you would also get an offer where like you can get an A in like your other subject. And I think it's of the same nature because we're required that we get 7 in our math, which is the highest possible. But you can maybe if you do like English for ESA and you're not like a brilliant English student, it's fine. You can get a 5 and you miss 2 points on that. And most people miss a point on E and TOK. I think like most people get 2 points, not 3 points. So then like that also factors into it, and you have 6 points to lose in the total. So I think like it's like it might not be like a very high requirement, I would agree. It's not like I know some Cambridge colleges for like econ or something require them to get 42 and all 7s for HLs, which would be really stressful actually. That's kind of very, very hard. Especially because some of the literature and language subjects, there can be some subjectivity to it. I feel like I wouldn't say it's like a low requirement, but also it's not like a extremely high requirement. I think it's pretty much, for me, it's very fair compared to the A-level criteria.
Thanks. That was just a little bit of consultancy work that we need to do on our grades. Thank you, Lily. I suppose the question comes down partly for maths at Oxford, right? It's about everything else. We need you to do well at maths, of course, but the IB is interesting. You do lots of everything else. You do a range of subjects. The question in chat is essentially like, do you need to be good at everything else? Now, standard offer says because they're asking about like what people actually achieve. So sort of, I interpret that as asking about, are the students good at everything else? And we don't need them to be good at absolutely top scores in everything across the board. Are some of our students, it turns out, good at everything else? Yes, and I'm not going to apologise for them. Some of our students are just like that, and they get 44, 45, or whatever the top scores are on IB. You don't have to do that. You're
39 is good enough,
right? Good. 7 in maths. Although if the offer was just
similarly,
7, then that would be.
Maybe also to say, don't worry about having some weaknesses, say at your GCSE scores. We know that not everyone is the same, right? And we care mostly about your math scores. We look at GCSE scores, but it's not because you, I don't know, don't have a good grade in French that means you cannot apply to Oxford. That's really not the case.
No, that's sensible. English GCSE has come up a bit in chat as well, which I always think, if you've made it through 2 hours of this live stream in English, then probably doing all right. There's a question about the proportion of UK students, international students. It varies quite a bit. I think we're about 30-40%, somewhere in that range for international students. We don't have a quota, we don't have a target number, we don't have some sort of number we must admit or number we must not admit. We can take the students we want. And there's questions about, there's questions about careers. The careers questions range on a spectrum of like what sorts of doing about careers. We have a brilliant careers service. We have a careers for mathematicians event. And there is a question, can I find it? This is not verbatim, but the question is, does everyone at Oxford want to be a quant, quantitative trading finance person? Let's do a quick survey. If you are only interested in being a quant, vote now. If you have other things on the go, vote now. And if you're not really sure at the moment, then that's also allowed. I really don't want to put students on the spot about career plans for after Oxford, especially at the moment. But if anybody's thinking about that at all, that's gone quite wide. Thinking about careers even slightly.
I think like for me, a PhD would be nice, right? like to think that I would like the research aspect of it, even though I don't have much exposure to it yet. But I think first year, you're still thinking about everything, but it's nice to, try things out through internships. And I think career service is like amazing because they have so many internship postings on there, and they do provide like tailored CV reviews or like one-on-one meetings as well, if that's something that you're interested in. But then like this term, I asked my professor, I'm interested in doing research, like what can I do? And he was really supportive of my of yeah, like my research plans. Yeah.
Later on in the degree, we offer a small number of these summer research internships where students do a little bit of research with us over the summer to get a taster of that. Usually we need them to have learned some maths beforehand. Sorry, no offense. Gosh, that was that was possibly really rude to first year students in general. Melanie, do you have anything about sort of careers and helping? Obviously, you're academic, you've done the research direction, but if your students are interested in...
Yeah, I had no clue when I went to uni what I would do. I'll be quite honest. I'm someone who was first in uni, like first in the family, my sister and me, to go to uni. I didn't even know what becoming a professor, how that would ever work. But I just found research fun and continued doing it. And so here I am. But I think also our students, a lot of them don't know what they want to do, and they find out and they try different things in summer. They do internships, maybe they do a research project one year, an internship another year. And one thing which is really helpful is like we really try. So here in Trinity, we often have the older students helping the younger students just to get some idea and help with internship applications so that you find out from the people a year above you. So compared to my university experience, I didn't really know people in the year above me because there were so many of us in the year. And that's really different in Oxford because you have your little college family. So you will know fourth year students already in your first year, and you can ask them like, what do you do? How did you choose your job? And I think that's really helpful.
I'll let you in on a small secret, chat, which is that some people who have jobs and careers still don't really know what they want to do for a job or a career, and that it might give you the impression that all adults know exactly what's going on and are doing exactly the right things. But these days people change jobs quite a lot. It's not like 50 years ago people would maybe just do one or two jobs for their career, and now people are switching around a lot more these days, which is maybe good news that you don't immediately need to know what the world will be like in 50 years. I think a maths degree is a good foundation for not just mathematical knowledge, but also the kind of skills that I think people might need in the future as well. Is this being recorded? Yes, this is being recorded so much that you can actually rewind it live. It is currently already available on YouTube. It's amazing. I love technology. And we'll stay online for at least... it'll go down at some point before next year when we do something like this again, but it will be up for the rest of this application cycle. Last thing, which is always my favourite question to ask people, which is, do you have one piece of advice for people? Let's imagine they're in year 12. There is somebody in year 11 who's watching, and I want to give them a little wave. Let's imagine they're in about year 12. They're getting ready for applying to maths at university. Obviously, we've talked about preparing for tests and things, but is there one piece of advice that you would give someone at that moment in their lives that maybe you wish you had, or maybe you did receive from somebody else? One piece of advice just to wrap up the panel as we get around to 12 o'clock. I'm nervous to put people on the spot because it's quite a big ask for sort of some advice, but have you got something they wish they'd had?
I think for me, it's like just enjoy the experience. When I was in year 12, I think I was so stressed and just about applying to all of these different universities. But like looking back at it now, it's like, there are bigger problems in life and you should just enjoy every step of it. Yeah.
Thank you, Tanya. Anyone else?
I think it's also important to see the process as what's more important. Like it's part of your life and it's like a big milestone of your life. So like be stressed, but also be excited and be proud of yourself. Don't stress too much, and eventually things will be fine. If things are not fine yet, it's not the end.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, I had a teacher who once told me that sort of no matter what university you end up at, it always ends up being the right place for you. And I think that's true in a sort of like retrospective way. Like I think no matter where you end up, it's going to shape who you are, and the person you become as a result will be tied to whatever institutions you've been a part of. And I suspect that, to anyone watching this, no matter how admission season goes, no matter what places you end up at, whether you get into all the places you've been dreaming of going, or you're a bit disappointed on results day, um, life moves on, and you you will find a place where you're going to be happy at university.
Yes, we like.
Yeah, and don't forget to have fun as well. I mean, this is really important, in particular when life gets stressful, and whether that's having fun doing math, that's of course also good, but also just enjoy the time. And I know this can be, it sounds like when you have exams coming up and so it's difficult to do, but that also really helps you. If you're happy, then working on problems, and so it becomes easier.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was lovely, everyone. We didn't rehearse that at all. That was great. We didn't rehearse any of this. I've done loads of advice already, but I think I'll go for a statistics one, which is that sometimes students get really bogged down in whatever statistics or probabilities they can find on the web. I just want to remind you that you are unique. You are yourself. You are in charge of 100% of the admissions to whichever university you pick. And in some sense, there are students maybe like you who have applied before, but you are the first of yourself, let's say, probably. Right. Mine really went really quite badly. Let's wrap this up. Thank you very much to the panel, students and tutors who have given up a bit of their Saturday morning on a lovely sunny day to be part of this panel. Thank you people for asking questions in chat. I have got a bit of a task ahead of me because there are about 270 that I maybe haven't addressed. So I'm going to try and type answers to some of those. That's my Saturday. I think if you've posted something in Slido and you come back later, you don't have to wait for me. If you come back later, it should still be there, even if it's been marked as answered, if it's got a reply from me. If we haven't answered your question, there is an email address, which is undergraduate.admissions@maths.org.uk. It's in the YouTube description, or hopefully it comes up if you find us on the prospectus or on the departmental website. We are back to do maths clubs and live stream admission support on this channel. Maybe we'll see you in July for the in-person open days in the summer, or maybe September if you pop along to the September open day. Do feel free to ask us questions by email, although, as I say, I am going to try and get through the ones that you have typed into Slido first. Thank you very much for our panel. Round of applause. We will be back at some point. Until then, have a lovely day and enjoy all the maths, like the panel say. Bye from all of us. Bye.